Hello, it's Laura Davallo here with another tutorial for my favorite things. Today we're going to create this outdoor or adventure themed comic strip card. I made a couple of sketches to figure out the placement and size of each frame. The first rough sketch just gives a general idea of the story, but the second one is to scale. I wanted to test if everything would fit. All of the measurements are in the description box below, but it might be a good idea to make a screen capture just in case. Most of the images are from the Happy Camper set, and their small size allows our creativity to run wild. Here I've cut all of the frames and placed them on a card base of jalapeno popper cardstock. I ran out of black licorice, which would add to the comic strip feel, but I figured this green tone would go nicely with the theme. You could use basic shape dies for the frames, especially if you're working with a larger card base, like this one, but I had a hard time getting them to fit on my A2 version. Instead of drawing pencil marks on my card base, I just held the little panels in place with the magnets so that I could adhere the stamp just where I wanted it. Then it's a piece of cake to remove them, add plenty of starch or talcum powder, stamp, apply embossing powder, and heat emboss the sentiment, which is also from the Happy Camper set. While I'm stamping this cute landscape, just let me mention a couple of things that'll add to the comic strip look. The use of bold colors and simple backgrounds, short secondary sentiments that you can stamp in speech bubbles or directly onto your frames, and hand-drawn details, which we will see later. If you find it too challenging to start from scratch, you can also find free printable comic templates online. There we go. The stamp set featured a bunch of cute animals, but for my story to make sense, I needed to stamp the bear without the kayak. I was feeling lazy, so I just covered parts of the stamp with washi tape before inking it. Instead, to get a perfect result, I should have made a same-sized panel out of scratch paper to stamp the bear in its final position. Then I could have cut out the parts that I wanted to transfer onto my real panel, and with the mask in place, ink and stamp a second time. You've seen me do this before. Luckily, I have one of these markers so that I can add ink to some smaller parts. That's better, but I should have skipped the handles of the paddles. Oh well, let's imagine that the bear has thumbs. After stamping the cute elk in the background, I added a perfect sentiment from the To the Rescue set. By the way, the bunny is from the Helping Hand set. Lastly, I drew part of the bear's body first with a pencil and then with a fine tip marker. Okay, now that all of the stamping is done, onto the fun part, the coloring. You'll find the complete list of markers that I used below. I really could have included some footage of my coloring, but I'm so used to sharing interactive cards which take a lot longer to make that I didn't realize that this video would be so short. Lastly, we can draw some wavy lines for the smoke and some movement or action lines, which are also typical of comic strips. I used the white marker to draw the foam and to cover the base of the kayak. I added the final touches like the speech bubbles and heart off camera. I hope you enjoyed today's card. Please give this video a thumbs up if you did, and if you have any questions or comments, leave them below and I'll gladly get back to you. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Hasta la próxima.